So, good morning, Black women. I came to talk to you guys today about the unnecessary policing of Black women's hair and just policing Black women in general, but the hair thing is really getting out of hand. Now, when Black women love themselves, when you love yourself, you don't worry about anyone else's opinion of you at all, right? When you love yourself, you recognize that there are multiple things going on that concern Black women every day, all day, and for the rest of your life. You have to remind yourself that you live in a society where your beauty, your existence is a blot on white people's society and everybody else that wants to assimilate into whiteness. The fact that your image has been tainted and been tabooed ever since white people came into existence and began to colonize Africans all over this world and turned us into all the many different people that we are today, right? All right. The stuff on TikTok with the young Black women and women in general trying to force other Black women or to start a trend of making Black women believe that if they don't wear their so-called natural hair, they don't love themselves. There's a whole lot of moving parts to that we need to actually discuss and we need to properly understand. One, there's the psychology of this. For young Black women and for Black women, other Black women who don't take education seriously, the demonizing of Black women's hair has been ever since, again, the beginning of colonization. And in America, it was strongly enforced. Me, I am a Louisiana Creole, right? Through lineage. My mothers come from the enslavement of Louisiana. We, as Black women in that state, were forced to always cover our hair because the different textures of our hair, and our hair has nothing to do with that ridiculous scale that gay Black man came up with, because it is not correct. There is not one Black woman that has the same texture of hair as another Black woman. Not one of us has the same skin complexion. We are all uniquely special in our own way, and that is the power of creation, okay? So please stop when you out here, oh, I got 4B here, 4C. No, you don't. You have your own specific hair. And you need to love it, cherish it, and most importantly, do whatever you want to do with it. And stop worrying about somebody else telling you how you're supposed to be to show how you feel about yourself. They need to mind their business, and you need to worry about your own. So in Louisiana, we had this during the French and the Spanish who colonized us. They weren't the only. We were also colonized by first the Germans and lastly the English. But it was German, French, Spanish, French, and then English. So the Black women have always been beautiful. We've always been voluptuous, sexy, and everything else. And then with the misunderstanding of Creole that you all have, which is confusing the Haitian Creole with the American Creole, is that in America, Creoles were not defined or recognized by the lightness of their skin, the thinness of their hair, and the different colorations of their eyes. That wasn't what Creole was about in Louisiana. Now, you have to think rationally and you need to think logically. All women in America that were from African descent or African American through different generations of the Africans they came from were sexually violated and often had children that were everything from a mulatto to an octoroon to a quadroon. I think octoroon is highest. So, but the octoroon is where they get this 1/8 of black blood, which is not true. Okay? But anyway, to get to the point, Creole culture was about a certain way the culture allowed white slave owners to ravish the bodies of black women outside of what was already being done in all of the rest of America. Now, in addition to sex farms, where they even had babies, old men, children, and women, right? The difference with the Creole culture was that they made you tie your hair with a rag called a tegon. A tegon was symbolization for your human devaluing and dehumanizing of your soul. Now, not everybody wore these. Be clear about that. That's also something they leave out of the history books, right? But since I'm from there, my family's from there, I'll tell you, right? So we are the people that come from the shore. Like, we're the people that work in the import-export areas of Louisiana. We from Shreveport. So we were right there when the boats would come in and come out from the other countries. That is the reason that we got the name, or they begun thus, the culture Creole. Because when you understand what that word means, it's not even a French word, okay? It is a word, I believe, that comes from some other language in Europe, where it means the coming together of others to make one, or something like that. And it also has to do with bondage. There's a whole etymology behind that word that is very sinister, very dark, and very disgusting, right? Anyway, that culture, Creole, was for white European men to understand that they could come from all over Europe, and Louisiana was going to have these black women that were intentionally bred with different types of European men, African men, and different types of mixed women already, to make the most exotic looking black woman, while still maintaining the regular black women and brown women and everybody else that makes Louisiana up. Because it's not just us. The Native Americans that were also created through colonization, they are highly infused in us as well. Because what I'm trying to tell you is, where my foremothers come from was like back in the day, highly ran human trafficking, multi-mixed sexual servient farm. That's what it was. That is what Creole means back when it started through colonization. Now, later on in Louisiana, after we became free and we had so many rebellions, they could no longer keep us held in bondage. We got our freedom, and then Creole became a thing about the way we talk. Those of us that speak Gullah, those of us that speak broken French, those of us that speak French all the way, those of us that only speak English, speak broken English, those of us that are Cajun, where they speak a totally other language that's most indigenous language mixed with French. That is what it is to be a Creole. A Creole is about the culture, the essence or the history of where you have come from into what you have transformed into, and now who you are. That is what Creole means today. But what it originally meant was something very disgusting, something very sinister, and that was very exploitative, deadly, and sexually violent to black women and girls and others. So the Tegon was a symbolism of that time and the depravity that another person could do to a slave's body. So this is the beginning of the thing with black women's hair. Because even though, and this is the reality of stuff you got to keep in mind, because it's prevalent to today, even though those women and girls were being sexually violated against their will, the women, the white women that were there at the time, Hispanics and others, because they were there as well, they became jealous of the attention that slave women and others were getting from being sexually abused and trafficked and violated. So those tigons that they put on their head were for a public embarrassment to show that you were like nothing less than a public toilet walking around amongst everybody else. So when that is the, how can I say it? When that's the pervasive thought of the value of black women's hair, less than the feces underneath someone's shoes, that is why today we have conversations and we have people on these social media platforms continuing to participate in dysfunctional patriarchy, continuing to participate in the tearing down and the further dehumanization of black women, and just going out of their way to continue to live in this mentality of their inferiority to this supposed white superiority. Because when you love yourself and you understand the history you've come from, the fact that you still live in an anti-black world with a lot of prejudice and implicit bias against black women in particularly, and you also know that white people hold the ability for you to become employed, and they make the laws in this country because we as black people don't get up. We don't vote collectively. We don't organize our vote. We do not follow up with making sure people actually follow through with their commitments and promises to us. When we don't do these things, this is why we end up in the situation we're in. And we have all of this constant us versus them amongst us, when it should be black women on a whole, loving, developing a strong sisterhood for each other, and understanding that when we stick together and we love ourselves and we love and respect the individuality of each woman and stop trying to police and push off our influence on that person and make them into the person we want them to be, we are better off in the end because of our acceptance, empathy, and respect for the humanity of that other black woman. And we're not seeing that these days. What I'm seeing is very young women trying to, I had a young girl come at me when I answered her post, because she had, and listen to what I'm saying, I just told you that white people hold the power to our employment, right? And this is the thing about being young, dumb, or being just black and not educated, and you don't want to care about things that really go on in life, and you live on the internet. You have to get off of the internet. You have to really watch the news. You have to really read the newspaper, really read magazines, and be involved in international conversation, because YouTube and TikTok is full of false information. And it is put there deliberately because the white America that runs this country knows that most black people don't want to take any initiative on informing themselves and being proactive and preventative to what is happening in their own communities in their own lifetime. So this young woman, right, she put up a post on TikTok where she had just blown out her hair. It wasn't combed, it was just blown out, looking a complete wild mess all over her head. Now, when you don't have to go to work and it's okay, or you live in a state where, most importantly, you have the Crown Act that has passed, you can go to work like that. But when you don't, you need to comb your hair, whether you relax it, perm it, don't perm it, wear a wig, put clip-ins in, put braids in, put extensions in, whatever. You need to comb your hair. Because if you don't, and you are not, these are white people's rules, not mine, and you know white women are going to give you the hardest time. There is a law in this world that has never been revoked, and that is the respectability politics that governs over black women's bodies and hair. That also ties into the black codes that I'm pretty sure a lot of you don't know anything about, whose laws are still on the books, right? Where you have to be acceptably presentable to white people in order to gain employment, seek education, get housing, and be unharassed or almost literally murdered in the streets. This is real shit. Now, maybe the way I'm saying it to you is not coming across the way it completely needs to, but if you don't believe me, go find the volumes of the Black Codes and read it. In addition to that, find the volumes of the Jim Crow laws and read the shit that dictates how black people are literally supposed to present themselves in society, and actually everything you're allowed to do throughout the day. It is not a joke. And these white people who made these laws are abreast of every one of them. And when they see you, this is why they have certain reactions to you. This is why certain black people end up in the situations they're in society, because you are seen as inferior. And when you come on TikTok and YouTube and you're sitting here trying to police other black women as being not in love with themselves and not loving themselves to the point where they don't love their own hair because they're not wearing it naturally, or they're wearing wigs, or they're wearing weaves, or they're wearing makeup, or they're doing this or doing that, you are reinforcing the inferiority and the non-humanity or inhumanity of black women, because you are policing, demeaning, and belittling black people the same way white people have done, showing that whether the Willie Lynch letter was real or not, you are showing the psychological effects of what that letter was intended to do, or those instructions from that letter was intended to do. And you're keeping that mentality alive and well in today's time. And it's ridiculous, because you are shouting to the world that yes, we agree that black women are less than everyone else. Even I believe that about myself, which is why I'm out here yelling at other black women, telling them how to live, how to do with their own bodies, instead of minding my own business and doing what I want to do with myself and living my life. Believe me, y'all, you guys on this natural hair movement, you have a cult of personality problem. You are not anybody's parent, puppet master, or teacher, or lord, where you get to tell other black women how to take care of their hair, how to put clothes on their body, how to conduct themselves, or how they should look in society. When black women are having to deal with everyday circumstances in this country that makes just being a black woman hard. Every state does not have the Crown Act where you're allowed to wear your hair any way you want and not be fired from your job. But there are many states where even if the Crown Act exists, people don't have to hire you if they feel like your hair is offensive. And in no way am I saying to you that I'm against natural hair, whatever, because every black woman has hair. So this natural hair shit is just another mental beatdown that people are out here trying to put on black women unnecessarily. You have hair. Regardless of the ignorant, negative stereotypes about you, we all have hair that grows out of our fucking heads. We all have it, okay? I wear clip-ins. I wear extensions. I do whatever I want to do with my hair, and no one is going to tell me or stop me from doing it. Because I do whatever I want to do with my hair does not mean that I don't love myself, don't embrace myself. It means I do what I want to do with myself, and that I am intelligent enough to know that love for self has nothing to do with the makeup I wear, my hair, the way my body is shaped, the clothes I put on it, or even my existence in this world. The way I love myself has to do with my acceptance of who I am versus all the stuff in this world that I have to come up against. That is how I love myself. When I know that I have people trying to keep me from living a decent life and having the money to do and go and be who I want to be, I have to put on my armor against that. That has nothing to do with my hair. It has nothing to do with my makeup or false lashes I wear. Has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with if I want to put on a tight skirt today and a pair of sweats tomorrow. It has nothing to do with that. Love of myself is for me to understand that I have to be astute enough to recognize the assault that is coming towards me from everyone in this society, and then to brace myself to be able to defend myself intellectually, physically, economically, and psychologically, every other way that I have to in any assault that comes towards me. And I'm quite sure that a lot of stuff I said will go over people's heads, because when you do not want to take in what another person is telling you about love of self versus everything else that is thrown at you to hurt you, it is hard for people to say, you know, you're right. And I'm going to start rejecting everything that's not good for me. And that means especially any black male who's out here telling me that I have to look this type of way in order to be attracted to him. Meaning I can't do the things I want to do to please myself or adorn myself just so I could be attracted to him. I'm going to not be bothered with that. I'm going to see that as something that is negative and that will negatively impact me. In addition to that, when I see women out here violating my ability to govern myself and to try to talk to me as if I am some type of simple-minded person where I cannot think for myself and know what's best for myself and my situation, because we're not all monoliths. We don't live all in the same areas. Even though the majority of black women live in the South, you need to get out the South and start living in the North and other places, right? But we're not all monoliths. So whatever you feel is right for your situation in your specific geographical location doesn't have anything to do with any other woman, even if she lives next door to you. So all it is, oh, we need to go on a natural hair journey. You need to stop it. You need to go on your own personal journey, whatever that may be, and leave every other black woman alone to her own devices. She is the best authority to decide what she wants to do with herself, especially her hair. Because she has to think about, I have to work at a job where I'm going to encounter white people regardless, because they have created this system that I live within. So I need to have a job to pay my rent, feed my children or feed myself, buy the things I want in this life, be able to have car fare to go back and forth to work. And so I will decide how I need to look regardless of what you think I should be doing, so that I can get the most out of this life and not be stuck in perpetual poverty. I mean, y'all really got to understand that this has nothing to do with self-hate when women wear wigs, wear weaves, and don't walk around without straightening their hair or curling their hair to the point where their hair is so defined that it is perfectly coiffed into a style that is acceptable anywhere they go. That's called survival. You out here calling for, oh, you don't love yourself if you don't wear natural hair. You're calling for people to be out here on a suicide mission or self-destruct, or to self-destruct, or out here to self-sabotage themselves. Because a lot of people, a lot of black women don't live in America in the part where they could be individually free. They live in areas, it's unfortunately because they don't want to listen and get out the South, right? You live in areas that are monopolized by white people. Not because they're the bigger majority, because they're not. The white people in America are the minority. But they monopolize the businesses. They monopolize the government. They monopolize the laws, the conditions under which you live. So you run around screaming, telling black people black women that they need to wear their hair this, that, and the other way doesn't help them. It hurts them because they need to get a job. They need to have the least amount of friction between them and the controlling environment they live in that is going to give them the greatest amount of ease to live their life without problems. And the last part that I'm going to go back to is y'all need to actually Google respectability politics when it comes to black women. Sorry, y'all. I almost dropped the camera. I apologize. When it comes to black women in America, and you really need to read the book Sister Citizen, because it will explain to you why all this stuff is constantly going on about black women, their hair, and etc. Because black women have been constantly put under respectability politics because this government, this society needs to control us. They need to control us so that we have these weak mindsets of, if you don't love yourself, you don't have natural hair, when loving yourself has nothing to do with your hair. Okay? They need you to be weak-minded and to be attacking of other black women so that you can stay stuck in poverty, stay a forever spawn in the capitalist and patriarchal control and machine. You call it the Matrix, right? In order to keep you pumping out children who are impoverished to forever stay in poverty, to enrich businesses of this country, prison systems, and even the mortuary systems. Because we live in a system where these people make money off of us whether we're living or dead. And by you bringing people into this world suffering from low self-esteem and having all of this mental conflict, personal inner crisis about who they're supposed to be, because you just can't leave other black people alone and love yourself truly. Because in loving yourself truly, you will love the reflection of another black woman you see. So clearly, there is a disconnect here in this conversation, because it is way too many black women, especially young ones, who have never experienced anything real in this life because they haven't been here long enough to know that there are a lot of things in this society stacked up against black women especially. So the last thing you need to do is to be out here trying to put another block of pressure onto black women when it concerns how they want to do their own hair. Keyword, their own hair, or key phrase, their own hair. How they want to dress their own bodies. And it only be black women who are under this scrutiny, because you don't say anything about the white, Hispanic, Asian, and other women who wear wigs, weaves, tape-ins, clips like I do, and everything else. You don't say nothing about them. So stop with the mentality of thinking that when you need to punch down on someone, you need to attack another black woman. When you want to punch down onto participating in your civic duty. Get yourself together and go and ensure that a certain right you believe you need to have is enforced. That's how you should turn your punching down around. Because it is ridiculous. And not to mention that it makes us look like we are some of the most ignorant women on this social media platform. Like there are no other women out here acting the way we do. And we need to stop it. Because a lot of this stuff is done specifically for the attention of black males who have endlessly told you and showed you through violence and murder, and by taking your life by black femicide, and by hurting our little girls through taking their lives after being sexually assaulted or violated and forced into human trafficking, that they do not prefer you and they do not like you. They only seek to hurt and abuse you. And yet you're out here trying to hurt another black woman's feelings all because you want the attention of someone who would take your life before they put any joy in your life. You have to reevaluate, regroup, reset yourself to stop worrying about and trying to police other black women, but to just only do what you need to do for yourself. And stop trying to tell another black woman what to do, because she's fully aware of her situation and she's fully able to handle herself in life. She doesn't need your help with combing her hair, putting her clothes on, putting on makeup, or how she decides she wants to be for that day. She don't need your help with that. So please stop trying to instruct her. Now, if you want to help her with housing information, employment information, financial management information, by all means. But stay off of her body. She has had people in this world and in this society try to stake claim to her body long enough. Leave her alone and allow her her freedom and choice, personal choice, to do whatever she wants with herself, as long as it is not hurting another person. Mind your business. If you want to go on a natural hair journey, keep that to yourself. The rest of us are not, we don't care, we're not concerned. But what you need to stop doing is running around acting like you know what's best for the rest of us, because you ain't us. Self-love has nothing to do with the way you wear your hair. Self-love has nothing to do with the way you wear your hair. Self-love has nothing to do with the way you wear your hair. Black women, love yourselves. Please stop being on these social media platforms and allowing people to dictate to you who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do. Please be individually you. Love and demand your individuality. Fight back against everything and everyone trying to take your freedom over yourself. And don't forget to vote in November for Kamala Harris, so women, and especially black women, could finally begin to have some type of power in this country, some sort of influence, and to have freedom to express themselves without the constant policing, beating down, and taking of our lives when people feel like we do not live up to their opinion of us. Have a good day, black women. Please push back against this natural hair movement trying to mandate to all black women that we're supposed to look like any woman that feels like she is not enough for herself, because that's really all it is. You are the one with the low self-esteem or the inadequacy when you feel like you got to prove something to the world. The rest of us don't feel that way. We're very comfortable in our skin. We love our skin. And we don't give a damn on what nobody else thinks about us. We that bad. We that bold, and we're that much in love with ourselves that we do what we want to do with ourselves, and you don't have nothing to say about it. Have a good day, black women. Put your comments below. Thank you.